Ngeviki eliphelile, iPortfolio Committee of Higher Education and Training bathe mabehlangene bathi bazodingida udaba lwe-NSFAS. Zonke iy'nkinga ezithinta i-NSFAS bazobe bekhona baka-NSFAS, kukhulunywe kudingidwe ukuze sazi ukuthi kwenzakalani. Ngihlezi ngikusho lokho ukuthi uma kungase kulunge iy'nkinga ze-NSFAS kulo nyaka, eminyakeni ezayo asisezukuba nayo inkinga. Ayikho into ebuhlungu njengokuthi iy'ngane y'phase kahle esikoleni, zi-apply ku-NSFAS, ezinye ziyithola i-funding kuthi kuphakathi nyonyaka basi-defund, uze kuthiwa they defunded them. Awusazi isizathu yini. Ezinye iy'ngane ziyakhwalifaya kodwa kuthiwa ama-funds aphelile. Yizo zonke izinto lezi efuna siziqonde. Kunabantu la abafaka iy'celo zabo ze-NSFAS namanje basalinde ama-results aphile kodwa isikhathi esihambile. Njengoba nje sikhuluma kukhona ama-university affected ngoba ama-allowances wabantwana wakaze akhokhwe. Kunabazali abaze bangena ey'kweledini ngoba kufuneka i-registration fee, NSFAS ayikazi ikhokhe. Kodwa-ke into efike yangisurprise kulokhu ukuthi i-NSFAS ikhokhe on time but inkinga ikuma-university. Ngakho-ke kule video engizokucaphunela yona kukhulunywa lolo daba olunjalo. Ngiyazi ukuthi i-video ende futhi-ke ngiyayazi inkinga yethu ukuthi we value entertainment nomgosi. Kodwa ngithe ngoba bakhona abantu abalidingayo ulwazi, abaney'ngane zabo ey'fundayo, abanye yibona abanakekela lezo ngane, abanye iy'ngane zabo zenza umatric. Bafanele bazi ukuthi kwenzakalani, kuqhubakalani ngey'ndaba ezithinta i-higher education. Ngoba ngale kwemfundo we are doomed. Ungeze umuntu ekukhohlisa. Noma ngathiwa-ke ngoba akusibo bonke abantu abaphiwe ekufundeni, kodwa noma ngathiwa uzoba nebhizinisi-ke, uphiwe ukuba nebhizinisi, siyadingeka isikole ngoba uzomdinga umuntu oyi-accountant ukuze ucomply ne-SARS. Okusho ukuthi lo muntu ofundile uzomdinga. So isikole sibalulekile, hhayi kancane. Ukurejista nje ibhizinisi, ube namaphepha wakho, wazi ukuthi uyacomplya, leyo nto le ifuna abantu abayifundele. Ukumanage ibhizinisi eranwe kahle, unless uzokwenza i-tech shop ezosebenza uma kukhona wena. Kodwa uma ufuna ukukhanda ibhizinisi nje, ngizama ukuthi noma ngathiwa ufuna ukuba yi-entrepreneur kodwa uyabadinga abantu abafundile abazokwazi ukwenzela eminye imisebenzi wena ongakwazi ukuyenza. Ngakho-ke isikole sibalulekile. Ngizokucaphunela le video, ngiyacela ukuze ukuphawula kwakho. Kodwa ibalulekile lento ekhulunywa la ngoba ithinta ikusasa lalezwe leli. Uma sikhohlwe ukwenza izinto for youth zibe lula, funa sazi ukuthi sisibulela isizwe. Uma ufuna ukubulala umphakathi, ikhaya, isizwe, funa ubulale legenge encane. Uma ubulale laba abazelwe, lelo khaya lelo, lowo mphakathi, leso sizwe leso asiqhubeki. Ngicela-ke uzwe la.
Ngivele ngiqhube. Deputy Minister uzuvula udalula ukuthi institutions of higher learning, academic processes ayaqhubeka. Well, awusho ukuthi smoothly but uthe ayaqhubeka across the country. Ngifuna ukukutshela ukuthi Deputy Minister at DUT there was protest from last week Wednesday. There were no classes Thursday and Friday. They have since migrated to online learning. There is a security company there called Cover Security that were bullying students, beating on harmless, defenseless students at DUT. Both their campuses in Durban and PMB had massive strikes from last week. Isizathu seyiteleka ukuthi i-university abanikezile abafundi ama-allowances, and abafundi allege that all of them have not gotten book allowances. Back in our day in university, in the first tranche of allowances, you got your allowance and your book allowance. Khona babanikile ama-allowances kodwa bathi abafundi ababanikezile ama-book allowances. Ngeviki endlule futhi ngolesithathu, Deputy Minister eNgwetebet College in Eastern Cape, ngizokutshela manje ukuthi ibe campus Deputy Minister, aba-students adutshulwa lapha, adutshulwa amaphoyisa. Kuthiwa awu-9 nawo desesibhedlela, angazi noma sephumile yini. Okusho ukuthi i-process ye-teaching and learning is not running smoothly. Izolo, I'm not sure iqala izolo noma day before yesterday, SCPUT, the serious protest namhlanje ama-classes kuthiwa wabe online until Friday. Now, challenge with online classes, Deputy Minister, is that if you are a first year student, ongakayitholi laptop, onganawo data, you are disadvantaged. You are likely to fail your first modules or first assessments. Ngoba bakanama assessments njengamanje. These are but a few that I can mention now that have disruptions in terms of teaching and learning. So mhlambe bengafuna comment yakho, Deputy Minister, in terms of the smooth start of the academic year in as far as those are concerned, because you did not mention them in your opening. Mhlambe sengiqeda nje kule matter before you comment, Deputy Minister. Abafundi base CPUT sebeze bayithathela isinqumo bengitshengisa usihlalo. Bathatha isinqumo bathi bona njengabafundi bamsuspend uvice chancellor wabo because akawamithile my issues are, I think they are very progressive because indeed they are the largest stakeholder of the institution. So mabet, this is the suspension of the vice chancellor. Kushabafundi. Ngizokuthumelela nayo leyo DM, so that I think it's issues that need your immediate attention. But finally on this matter, DM, before you come in, we are going to call for immediate investigation into the appointment of his cover security in Durban University of Technology, because upon learning that they are pulling students and they are bouncers, they think there are in some clubs. Basha Abafundi, the footage is doing rounds in social media that were also sent to us by students crying out for intervention. Ikora la Basha Abafundi as bona ukuthi is a university, xa uthi sema clubini lapha ebamba khona abantu abadakiwe. We'll need a full investigation into their appointment, because we are told that they were appointed due to proximity in that particular university. Igama le security company DM iti Easy Cover Security, Durban University of Technology. Please do comment on these issues that I've mentioned, DM, as ngiqhubekela phambili.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Yes, the academic year has started, and there is peace in the institutions amid the few incidents that are there. DUT, Honourable Member, there is no protests. I was there on Thursday or Friday. When were we there? Friday. I was there on Friday. We spent the whole day there with the management and the students, asking what has happened. We do have a full report of what happened. The DUT did not load the allowance for students, and yet NSFAS this time had paid them. And I think by Friday, only 70 students had not been paid due to the university saying their bank accounts are not loading. I must say, though, that when we were there, they were supposed to have, by Friday, have loaded for next month's allowances. And I don't know whether they met the deadline. We then decided that this week, I'm sure the team will tell me, I said there must be a meeting with the management again this week, because in anticipation that we've seen now the problems, there are challenges in their systems, but also we want now certainty in terms of what is the problem really, because if it's clear that we might have solved the problem that we attended to with NSFAS and the university branch, but as I say that on Friday, they had not loaded 1,500 students. Now, I haven't got the update whether those students were loaded. So if they were not loaded, again, then we are anticipating that there will be challenges. But that's why I said there must be a meeting this week to make sure that we know and we are able to communicate with students upfront if there are going to be problems. I don't know about the security Easy Cover, but we will follow up on this when that meeting is taking place this week. As I said, that there's going to be a meeting with NSFAS and the DUT that will take place. There is no NSFAS full-time staff, unfortunately, that is based there. However, there is a person that is dedicated to DUT and she's servicing DUT and which one? One campus in Mlazi, because DUT did not make offices available. They said they don't have offices available for NSFAS to be based there. So they are based in the campus in Mlazi, and they shuttle between DUT and the other campus in Mlazi. But there are people who are...
MUT.
MUT, yes. Yes, MUT, thanks, Chair. But there are people that are there, and we confirmed that there are people that are full-time dedicated to servicing these institutions. Well, as you say, the CPUT, probably it's because it's happened today. I don't have the update about it. Ingwe, I did communicate with the department last week. I just checked my messages. I think they can give an update on that, because, Chair, what we are doing, we are making sure this time around that there is no issue that is left unattended to. Once it's brought to our attention, or once we get to know about any of the issues, we do attend to them. We make sure that either we send the team or we also attend to them ourselves, so that we really make sure that this time around there is stability and there is peace in the institutions. I'm told that there is a team that went there at Ingwe, and the teaching and learning is taking place. But as I say, that the team in the department can give an update, because on that one in particular, I don't have an update, but I know that we did attend to it last week as well.
Okay. Honorable Lonzi, and a follow-up, I'll give you back.
No, thanks, Chair. Just on this matter that was raised by Honorable Msezan, I think the DM must mind the language of saying there's no protest, because the videos are there. There are students who are being beat up by security at DUT. Whether the DM agrees with the protest or not is a separate story. But to say there's no protest is extremely insensitive, even to those 70 students that you're speaking about, whom you are saying, when you went to DUT, you discovered that they'd not paid the allowances. But I just thought that I must mention that. That's not my question. My question is, maybe between NSFAS and the department, someone must assist us here, because we encountered the same problem at the University of Pretoria last week, where you have got a situation where NSFAS pays the money to the institutions, but the institutions are delaying in paying the allowances to the students. So it's actually it's a funny thing, because typically we were supposed to be complaining that NSFAS is not paid. At least that's what's been happening for the past 5 years or so. But now, for some reason, NSFAS is getting it right. I don't know how. And then the universities are just not coming to the party. The universities are the ones that accept these students. They are the ones that ask for the details of these students when they apply. They put in all their details, they've got all of that. Why must it take so long? As soon as NSFAS gives the universities money, the universities must pay. It's going to force us to go back to that discussion of saying, maybe we should give this payment back to NSFAS. Because these universities don't know how to get it right. But of course, we still had our problems in NSFAS. So I don't know, Chair, either NSFAS or someone in department can help us to answer that question. What is causing the delay? When NSFAS pays today, at least tomorrow, within 2 days, the universities must be releasing the money to the students.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think it should be the department answering. Actually, that is criminal. It's not funny. It's criminal. Last week, Deputy Minister, we said we come from constituencies where these students come from. Some of us, we know their economic situations at home, that there's no one who's working. But these young people, young girls and young boys. When the university does this criminal thing of not releasing the stipends to these kids, to these students, it creates a big problem. Last week we got some excuse from University of Pretoria. Actually, what these universities are doing, like University of Pretoria did, they lied to the students. And they said NSFAS has not given them money. And there was a strike at University of Pretoria. Just like it happened at Forte, we could have lost serious property, at University of Pretoria. We could have had a strike that turned violent. And then we probed Deputy Minister, why is that the case? We got excuses. The CFO says, yes, indeed, NSFAS paid in January. And when they paid in January, we contracted a third party. What do you call it? Yeah, what do you call this? Like that, middleman. They appointed a middleman called Fundi there to pay, obviously, the cost, the book allowances of students. Right? What we were complaining about with NSFAS, University of Pretoria, we knew, by the way, that they are doing it. It's Fundi, it's Ntelimali, and all of that. We know them. That universities themselves, they pay through these third parties. Right? Now they pay this, they give money to this third party, middleman, called Fundi there. They do well, they pay on time. That Fundi thing. They paid students book allowances on time. But from January, they've had this money of NSFAS. They don't request banking details of students. Well, they should have them because they've appointed Fundi. They should say, Fundi, give us the banking details of these students. They don't give students allowances. Students ask questions, they lie to students. They say, no, NSFAS is not giving us money. Let me tell you why are they doing so. They are putting this money into interest-bearing accounts to get interests. They are doing business at the expense of these poor kids. And we told them, what a day that passes when you don't give the students their allowances, you are forcing them to do something that morally they will normally don't do or will not do. I've said we know the circumstances of some of these students. Literally, there's no one. Can you imagine how hungry you get when you go a day without eating? University of Pretoria spent, I don't know how many days without releasing money for this, allowances for the students. So these students, they probably borrowed money, they can't borrow anymore. They probably ate with a friend, they can't eat with a friend anymore. They run out of ideas. What then happens, Deputy Minister? Socio-economic problems emerge. Botebuho and Msezana with their big stomachs, they then approach these young girls because they've got money. They then buy them grocery. Now these girls, these young girls, are then under duress forced to enter into some unholy arrangement with Botebuho and Bomsazan with their big stomachs because they are hungry. Why? Because somebody wanted to make profit at the expense of these kids. Tomorrow these kids, they are pregnant. It's a serious social impact on their lives and that of their families. At DUT is the same thing. NSFAS has paid them upfront payments in January. They've not paid students. And we must sit here and say, no, we got a report. You see these reports. That's why, Deputy Minister, we ourselves go to these institutions. Because they lie to you guys. I can tell you they've lied to you. There's not 70 students who are still missing there. There's more. They're lying. They're lying to you. And we go on, like we've said, they will be very brave to lie to us because we come from these constituents. We go there, we live there. So let's not accept these lies from these people. They are lying. And what pisses me off is that they are doing so in your faces. They are not even ashamed that they can lie to you, but there is a life of somebody behind this thing. That is probably, there's a boy who probably could not hold it anymore, who probably went at your pand, bambop or bamsla, bamkwaza, or uboshiwe. Because we got to or there's a young girl who finally gave in to some boy who's been asking her out. Not because she likes him, but because she's at the, she's desperate. She's put in a corner by these institutions. And these students tomorrow, they will be blaming your government. They will say, your government has promised us this, they are not delivering. But your government has given these institutions money. And these institutions, they've decided to keep this money for profit. And then sacrificing the lives of these kids. So, Honorable Lonzi said maybe it's funny. I thought I must just come in because it's bad. Because these institutions, I mean, if you are here last week, the CFO was sitting there at the back. He could not explain to us why they kept the money. He could not. He was at pains trying to explain why they kept that money. And it's clear they kept it for profit. So when we get these briefings from these officials, probably of the department and also these institutions, don't take it at face value because they are lying to you. And they are going to continue to lie to you guys because you seem to believe them. You can answer. You see on this one, in fact, maybe let's not answer. What must happen here, members? We must ask for a report from the department. They must say, when did NSFAS give these institutions money? And when did this institution give all of them? And if there's any, what do you call this thing? Interest that they must give it to you. If they don't, then we must do an investigation. Forensic, just to get into, we've given you this much on this day, you put it in the interest bearing, this is how much you made. Then we are going to make a pronouncement. That money that you would have made, an institution, we are saying, if you have made 12 million, release certificates worth of 12 million tomorrow to these kids, students who probably finished last year. Let's start with those ones. Because why would you want to make profit out of money that is meant for somebody else? So all of these institutions, we must do this. Department, when we write to you, will write and say, when did NSFAS pay? NSFAS, how much in upfront payment did you pay? Global, how much? 6.4 billion. So guaranteed we would have made more than 60 million. And that's 1%. I'm just being modest. Would have made more than 60 million. So at least we are looking at certificates worth of 60 million that must be released. So we are going to write to you, DG, and say, go get us, this 6.4 billion was paid at this time, at this day. This is where it went in an institution's interest bearing. This is how much they made. And let them give a student. Because why, if we soft on these people, they'll do it again. Until somebody is gone. And then the DM says doesn't know about this cover. Will also write. Maybe we must ask, because when we're at Fort Head, they create a strike at Fort Head. That strike was created by management and lack of decisiveness from the council. And then there's a strike, right? And then there's a company that is appointed for 24 days or 14 days, I can't remember. Then this company is paid 10.4 million. Yes. We went there. I even asked him, Sazana, what kind of a gun is this? Because, you know, it's from KZN. He said, no, it's a revolver. Imagine. No, I'm telling you. So, 10.4 million in less than 1 month from a self-created strike. So even here at DUT, we must really have a discussion, even here at CPUT. But what is the price of these strikes, really? Because we're wasting money on certain things that we could be taking that money and putting it to good use. Honorable Mr.
No, ngibonga sihlalo ukuthi ukwanda kulezi inking. DM generally, you know, because you come from KZN. Now ukuthi yabo ngingalwi kakhulu. That's why even when you were responding I did not interject you. But I'm glad that Honorable Lonzo would have touched on the matter, and I think I'll just pass it. The insensitivity of your responses or your casual response, particularly as it pertains to the manhandling of students by Zikova Security. I don't think you have not, well, you say you haven't seen the videos, but I think if you have a division in your department that actually does oversight on what is happening when there are protests, you should have seen those videos. It's bad, DM, and please do not be casual when you respond to issues. Where you're not certain, please rather not enter into that particular topic so that you don't become unpopular on the ground. You say you went there Thursday or Friday. I was there on Thursday. That particular those issues at DUT, it was bad at DM, but I will not maybe stick on that matter. Besides the fact that I will also write to the chairperson of the portfolio committee requesting that investigation on the appointment of that particular private company, but also consequence management as it relates to those particular securities now, because we are told they're still on campus after having manhandling students there. On the matter of the meal allowances and book allowances that have not been paid, DM, like the chair has said to you, these institutions just tell you things at face value. As of Friday last week, the statement from the SRC, after having met with management, they reported that at least 3,200 students had not been paid their allowances, and the excuse of the university was that their banking details are not updated. Now, you can't tell me that returning students must update banking details each and every year. There's no such a thing. We've been students, we know how these things work. So the university is just making a bunch of excuses for whatever reasons known to them. They've put us in groups here, DM. You know, I'm in a group, over 1,000 students are here. They are watching as this three streams live. They have been sending here that they have not received both their meal allowances and book allowances. And the first semester students have reported that they have not gotten their book allowances at all. So I think you really need something in writing, DM, especially having gone there yourself. So I think I'll park this matter at that for now, Chair. Maybe whenever the DM comes, she can then comment on it. But I must tell you again, DM, that as we sit here, the Belleville students were planning on coming to protest here, but fortunately for the institution and yourselves, the bus service has been cancelled, so they are no longer going to be able to come here, but you were going to be addressing them outside. Yet you are saying there's peace and a smooth academic process in these institutions. And lastly, on this matter, DM, we can't say that the processes are smooth in terms of academic teaching and learning when classes have been migrated to online learning, when I've just highlighted to you that for first years, it is a serious disadvantage to have to learn online when you don't have the tools of trade to do so, or tools to study online to do so. So we can't then say the process is smooth and everything is going well. Let me venture into NSFAS, and then I think I'll end with DDG Fuchane because of the time limitation, Chair. Maybe let me also, Chair, as a person who's on the ground and as a person that would have interacted a lot with NSFAS during this registration process, do commend the work of the officials of the department, of the entity NSFAS particularly, because I would have requested through the acting CEO, I would have interacted with the acting COO and some officials of the entity that are able to timeously respond to our inquiries that are forwarded to us by students and timeously update us as people that interact with students on the ground. And I can state, Chair, before the portfolio committee and the students at large of South Africa that the process is efficient. The officials are working around the clock. I mean, just that there are certain things that I do not understand to some degree, which I think at some point, Chair, we'll need to do oversight after this process closes by the end of the month at NSFAS, because there are times acting COO and acting CEO where your officials will tell us that certain matters have been closed. For instance, they've been rejected after coursework did their final assessment, and there is then a resolution that a student perhaps they are rejected. Then all of a sudden the status changes to then appeal submitted or changes to approved. You know, so we would want to understand when does it then go back to re-evaluation or reassessment if the particular student has been finalized and has been rejected, because it would mean that then a person supervising the process would have not done due diligence and someone else did, and they had found that there was mistakes in that process. So I think to some degree we need to understand certain things as it relates to that. So we want to really commend the effort that have been put in by NSFAS. So Chair, maybe my last question, parting short, last two questions. So one question, Chair, is relating to what the acting CEO said about student accommodations that would want to chase students from their student accommodation, even though the students would be staying at that particular residence and funded by NSFAS. I put it to the acting COO that there are a number of student accommodation that bully students and that chase students out from their residences, even though those students are funded by NSFAS. And I have an example of one out of many that I have, where a student is chased out by a landlord because they were inquiring about certain services that should be given to them by the service provider. And in actual fact, I'll give you the names, I think, outside of this meeting. And I think Chair would want to know the decisiveness of NSFAS for those particular service providers, accommodation providers, and especially those that are in appealing conditions that are still in the system, but nothing has happened to them. We would want to know the turnaround time in terms of the person that is heading student accommodation, because we've been told that they've already started their work. Maybe in my parting short, Chair, is going to be on DDG Fuchane on the report that a student was raped in one of the centers in Gauteng. If perhaps DDG Fuchane can just tell us if that particular student was raped by an official or was allegedly raped by an official, but she said she was raped. So if it was an official, a student, or just a community person, and then is there a case that has been opened? And obviously, where would that person that would have been the perpetrator be now? Are they arrested? And what is the current status of that particular incident? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thanks. Let's start with you, DDG Fuchan.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Msezane, for the question. The student is allegedly raped by one of the other students. There were 3 of them involved. One raped the student while 2 others kept guard at the toilets, because this is where this happened. The student has not been able to go back to the college. Unfortunately, the student she tried to commit suicide, but she was then admitted and she's out of the hospital now. The 3 perpetrators have not been caught. The center went through all the records. They can't find the records of the 3 students. The case was opened with the police. The community was also involved. And as of now, there is no progress in terms of the arrest of the 3 perpetrators. The only progress is on the student, as I've indicated, she's now out of hospital. And the college is assisting the student to study virtually because she can't go back to that center because of the trauma. And she will be writing her exams at a different center. Thank you, Honorable Msezan.
Okay. We'll follow up with this story. DM.
Thanks, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. Honorable Members, the response with regard to the DUT having no protest was not related to the previous protest, but was relating to the situation now as it stands. And the situation as it relates to last week, Friday, when I was there, I was with the students themselves, I was with the president of SAVETSA, the secretary of SAVETSA, and we even met other students just to verify, because we do understand that we cannot trust everything that we see on presentations, on the presentations when they are made by the university. In fact, some of the students' leadership were not there. They had gone to, I think, Far North for some workshop. We called them to say, we wanted to also meet with you just to make sure that the issues that relate to the student protest, the student leadership, we want to also hear from you, whether you're satisfied with what we are hearing from the university or you are not satisfied. I must say, as I indicated, Chair, that I was not satisfied with some of the things that the university has given us. That is why I decided that there must be another meeting this week. Our department and the NSFAS must go back and actually find out why is the university having a problem with their systems. What is the problem in their system? Is it the system or is something else that we need to investigate? We could not go into that kind of a detail because the CFO was not there last week of the university, and the corporate services deputy principal was also not there. He was on sick leave. So that's why then I said, I'm not satisfied. As much as we hear what they're saying, let's go back again. Not me. I said the NSFAS team and the department team to follow up on the issues, especially because we could now anticipate that because they couldn't load all the students as per the deadline of the NSFAS, which was last week Friday, then there could be a problem. And in anticipation of that problem, we then said there must be a meeting so that then there must be clear communication. I'm told that from that Friday deadline, they managed out of 1,500 to load about 800, which means that as I had anticipated, there will be a problem. Because even if it's 100 or even if it's 200 students that were not loaded Friday, there will be a problem. So in anticipation for that, I said there must be this meeting to come up with a plan, what can be done in relation to those students. If they need to be assisted with food or transport money or whatever, we would need to then intervene because the problem is the university. It's not NSFAS, it's not students. So that is why then I said there must be that meeting. I do agree that unfortunately the problem this time around was not NSFAS. In many instances, it's the institutions, and I think we will have to follow up and find out from those institutions what is the problem. Is the problem saving, as you are saying, Chair, they're putting money in some investment, or is it something else that is genuine in terms of what they are telling us? CPUT, as I indicated, honorable members, that as we've just heard, we are told that they are in a meeting as we are here. The management there, I've asked the department that we will have to meet with them, even if it means after their meeting we hear what did they discuss, what is their solution, so that again there are prompt responses from the department. And I think what we want to say to honorable members is that we're not approaching these issues from the point of sitting in offices and sitting in telephones. We approach the matters in terms of going there on the ground and, listening to students, listening to university, and try to find solutions together so that matters do not escalate, or we are able to respond and restore, peace and students to be able to continue with their studies. So that is what is happening. As I indicated that I do not have for Ingwe the update, but there was a team that was sent there last week, and probably, as I indicated, the department might have the update from the team that was sent there, because when the people are sent there from the department, we expect that we then get responses in terms of what is the resolution of those matters that would have been raised by the student. Thanks, Chair.
No, thank you, Honorable Zondo. No, let's give, you have asked too many questions after time. Honorable Zondo.
Thanks, Chair. Greetings to you, members of the committee, DM, DG, CO, NSFAS, colleagues. I think, Chair, I want to write on your previous comments, but I'm just thinking, battling to find a solution in terms of saying, DM, we have a problem with institutions, and the problem is bigger because they are not connected into each other. This institution got some problems that are based on that institution, and you go to another one, you go to another one. It's unlike in the security cluster souls, where you find the role players connected to each other all over the country. So now addressing this issue, you can't come up with a uniform approach to say how do you approach these challenges and resolve them once and for all. Even if you can have ad hoc committee, it won't help you because of the vast of the problem. Now I'm thinking, because I thought NSFAS in January didn't pay at a required time, because I know that there are some students who didn't get opportunity to study. Well, you gave them a green light on your system, but because they were said you have not paid the institution, so they were left out, even if they were qualifying and got the admission. So and I was like, oh, so that means NSFAS is still doing this playing. Because some of the parents had to go and borrow the money in order to pay for the registration, so that their child will get in space. Some they left out with your green light. They are at home as we speak. So this problem, as I'm saying, it's too big, and I think we need to work together and try to make sure that we pin down this, let them pay if they've money that they have gained in the process, as the chair was saying. We need to go deeper in terms of investigating this rot, because there is a rot that is affecting our country and depriving many people the future that they desire to have. And some, I can't repeat the way that already the chair had said, but I'm always saying that some of these decisions affect families, one way or the other. So I wanted to pass on that, because it was something that I was going to ask the NSFAS to say. During the beginning of the year, when did you pay? So now I'm getting that, but we'll get into the report that you're going to give us. Actual dates, when did you pay, and try to reflect to say this issue said you have not paid on this time, but according to your record, you have paid on this time. Then we'll take it from there and try to go forward, see how can we help to make sure that the books are balancing and our people are getting the help that they deserve. I want to go to NSFAS. I'm having a problem when we are looking at the number of, and a lot is happening. It's hot here. Okay, I have a problem. So your targets, especially in the loan scheme, and the actual achievements. Now I think it's for the third year now. We're in the third year. You are not coming closer, not even closer. I'm not. But my problem is saying you have a lot of students who have appealed. Your policies have kicked them out of the bursary, but you are not giving them the option to get a loan. They are keep on appealing to be funded, whereas there's an option that you can divert them to say, because now the policy doesn't allow you to do 1, 2, and 3, take this option so that you'll further your studies. Maybe that one will help you to come closer to, even to make it to 10% or 20% or 50% of your target. So you have money that is not spent. But there are people who want this money for them to finish their studies. What can you say on that one?
Yeah, I think that's quite an important question. And I think it's important to reflect that just because money is available doesn't mean you should disperse it, right? One is required to meet certain criteria to be eligible for a loan from NSFAS, right? And I think the structuring of a loan is quite different to that of a bursary, because when you issue a loan, you have credit regulations. So you issue a loan to somebody you can reasonably believe will pay you back here, yeah? And if we look, and it was before you arrived, but if you look, I have said that I think there may be inhibiting criteria within the policy that is preventing loan disbursement. So for example, the 600,000 income cap may be too low, and that we should consider increasing it to have a greater amount of beneficiaries from the loan system. I do think that perhaps the 70-30 STEM split, that 70% of loan applicants must come from fields which are STEM, could be inhibiting criteria. But on the one of students who do not meet academic progression on the bursary being granted a loan, I have a bit of a problem with that, right? Because what you are asking NSFAS to do is to say that somebody who could not articulate in their studies, who could not meet academic progression criteria to be able to move to the next level, and could not submit a valid appeal for why they should be considered for funding, we want NSFAS to give state money to that student. What reasonable prospects do we have that that student will graduate and pay those funds back? So I think our criteria does need to be a bit more strict. If, for example, you have a situation where a student is very close to graduation and needs a little bit of funding to take them across the line, yes, I could understand, but the bursary policy already caters for that. So we already allow for propensity to complete a graduation and continuation of a bursary program. Yeah.
You remember that you are eating my airtime.
It's important that I answer. So I think that would be, we're very much open to consultation, and that's why even in the policy review process, we consult the portfolio committees. But I think it's important to understand the context on how loans are granted within NSFAS.
Okay, so you had a long answer, but my take, I want to hear from you. You have 3.8 billion for the loan scheme, right? Then you have your target. Then you are not hitting even 10% of your target. Then I want to understand, when you see that, what tells you when there is someone who's staying at home, who maybe if you assisted by anyhow, because he or she applied for a bursary to NSFAS, but you declined. But there's an option of a loan, you know? So that's where I'm trying to get from you to say, what is the plan to see that these are the applicants, this one doesn't qualify for a bursary, but this person can qualify for a loan, then but he did not apply for a loan, he applied for a bursary. You know? So there are a lot of people say, who are staying at home. But there's this money that is there. We'll sometimes come to a point to say, how much do you have saved from 2024? Because you have not hit your target. Then you have this 3-point-something billion in your pocket. From 2024 to 2026, how much you have saved, and where is that money? So I'm trying to push you to a point to say, can we look at the bigger picture? What can we do to make sure that we utilize this money? Or else we are making savings also. When you are not hitting your target, then you are making savings also.
Chair, maybe through you, I think the point that is raised by the member, it's very important. And we have raised it as the minister in the department. And I would want probably the acting CEO to respond in the manner in which we have said this matter should be addressed. Because we have raised it as a concern as the ministry. And of course, it doesn't get saved. It's put in back to fund, the rest of the shortfall that is always there. But we've raised it, Honourable Member, and you are correct. We are not happy with how, the NSFAS has been dealing with this matter. That's why I'm saying perhaps he needs to respond in the manner in which we have engaged with the NSFAS as the ministry and directed that what needs to be done.
Yeah, thanks, DM. So I think to respond is that we don't deliberately underachieve on the loan targets, right? I think the point is that in order to disperse, you have to have qualifying applicants. So there's a couple of things that we do. One is that students who don't qualify for the bursary but do qualify for the loan are made offers to be able to say, would you like to take up a loan given that you don't qualify for the bursary? And we have seen this year upticks in terms of, we have 1,500 qualifying loan applications, which is more than what we've seen in previous academic years. When it comes to how do you remedy the situation, so how do you increase the uptake of loans from the Missing Middle Loan Fund? There's a couple of things you can do. One is I do think the policy in its current format is too strict, and you have to make some policy relaxation to probably get to where you want to be in terms of better disbursements. But two is that when NSFAS established the loan fund, NSFAS did not have a system, nor did it have the requisite capacity to be able to disperse on loans here. And one of the things we've said is that we need to, we're in the process of implementing our automated loan disbursement system. We're building the requisite human resource capacity to disperse on loans, but also marketing and communications. I don't think enough has been done in the past around marketing what the loan is, what are the terms and conditions. And I do think with those integrations in place, you will see a greater uptake on the Missing Middle Loan Fund going forward.
Yeah, I'm worried about time. Honorable.
Can I have just one question?
Yeah, no, at the later stage. I'm worried other members won't have time because I did indicate that we have another meeting sitting here. Honorable Govan.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair. Mangibingelele wena kuqala sekela mphathiswa amalungu endlu yowisomthetho yesizwe ngibingelele uDG nethimba lakhe lonke. One chair okanye Mangiqale appreciate the improvement that we have noted from NSFAS. Akuzusiza ukusoloko complain singabuki where there is something or where there is improvement on our day-to-day deliberations with the department. Siyakubuka futhi sibonile ukuthi over the years bekune huge improvement ku NSFAS kulonyaka assisting e-registration. But there is still more room for improvement mphathiswa. Asikhona ukulala ubuthongo obehlayo up until kuthiwe yonke into is running smooth. Asikhona ukulala ubuthongo behlayo size sazi ukuthi zonke izingane are funded and are registered basesikolweni. You look at the protest that we are faced with kulonyaka omile. Some of them also comes from delays, the payment from NSFAS or universities. Makuze kufika isikhathi phela DG and DM la singasakhulumi khona ngama late payments. Masize sifike leso sikhathi because inkinga zethu eziningi iqala lapho. That was a comment, akukho into engumbuzo. But on the issue of accommodation shortage, ezinye zeyinkinga esibhekene nazo ezinkulu when it comes to accommodation, zine safety hazard on young people of South Africa. We have seen them sleeping outside corridors. We have witnessed them sleeping in places where our kids would never sleep. It then questions the plan that we have in place to respond to this issue of accommodation. What is it that we have in plan to respond? Because it really needs to be addressed and very fast, DM. We can't continue every year discussing the issue of accommodation. And when you're going to respond to that, also respond to a question of saying, the accommodations that we found that were not meeting the standard and norms of DHED, what actions did you take against them? Because we have seen or we have witnessed the worst properties ever that were accredited by NSFAS. What have you done to those? Because if you don't take any action against them, it will then say we are promoting such accommodations to be given a chance and cause this dysfunctional that we have in the department. That is the first question that I have. Must I repeat the question? Oh, okay. DM, the accommodation shortage, what plans do we have in place to close this gap? Because we can't continue every year with discussing issues of accommodation. Future plans, what plans do we have? And secondly, DM, the accommodations that were found that did not meet standards and norms of DHED that were accredited to accommodate our students. What measures are in place that you took in correcting or making sure that they face consequences on that? Are people that appointed this accommodation being dealt with? What is it that you are doing to make sure that it does not happen again?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to the honourable member for that question. On the accommodation side, we do agree with the honourable member, as the President also stated that we need to build more beds. Right now, we have been taking stock of all the available beds that are in progress, but also the projects that, if there are projects that might have not been completed, or if there are projects that are delayed by the department. I think one project, for instance, was the University of Zululand, where we had to follow up with the department on that project. I think the Limpopo, also we're working closely with them, but we've also asked the department to make an assessment on the available land, so that we could, working with the Presidential Infrastructure Unit as well as the DTIC? I always make, yeah, I think it's DTIC, the entity. Who've committed to work with us in building more accommodation, working with various institutions, but also working with a government. At least these are government institutions that we are talking about, at least that are not interested in profits, but who are there to assist us in this infrastructure delivery, particularly of accommodation. Obviously, honourable members, it's not going to be solved today or tomorrow, but I can assure you that it is a matter that is receiving priority attention from the department. As I said, that we relied more previously on institutions themselves. But it does seem, when you engage the institutions as well, that at some stage there was some uncertainty, policy uncertainty between the institutions at the department. For instance, when I engaged with the Pretoria University, they said, well, they didn't know that they are now can build more, accommodation. And I said, but why would you say that? Because, I mean, it makes sense that when you have 15,000 students applying for accommodation and you have less, then it means we can't then rely on private accommodation, which is in many instances or sometimes not even safe for our students. So we are making sure that each institution take these matters seriously. And as I said, that we already have plans with regard to that. The accommodation that does not meet the standards, we did indicate, honourable members, that we, when the meetings were held, even the latest meeting was held, I think it was this year, January, with the student, all the student leadership of all the institutions with NSFAS, with a view again of looking at making sure, or even making students to understand what are the norms and standards, and what should they do themselves, so that, because they are there in every institution, they can see. There was then this agreement that institutions, students themselves, student leadership, and NSFAS must be involved in making sure that no accreditation of accommodation that does not meet the standard. But you are correct. What then happens to those that have accredited those things where students have got to skip electricity, wires and sleeping on places that do not even have water sometimes? That is the consequence that I think you spoke about earlier, of saying who did this and what needs to happen to those people, what consequences are going to be taken to those people that have accredited accommodation. But there is still a lot of cleaning up, I must say, honourable members, that needs to happen in the accommodation space. I think the policy certainty that the acting CEO is speaking about, as to where do we ultimately, because our engagement with universities last year was that universities, can you take charge of accommodation? and TVET colleges. There are those who said, no, we're not willing, and there are those who said, yes, we are willing. So we've said to the department, can you then move with those that are willing? So that at least there should be movement instead of having everything to be at standstill, while at least you could then gradually, work towards finalizing this matter.
Okay, thanks, DM. Rushing to my next question. DM, we are faced with the hugest problem with spaces in higher institutions vis-a-vis the number of our learners doing grade 12 and past years. We have noted that our university can't capacitate the numbers that we have that have passed matric. The spaces that we have won't even meet half of what we have in DBE. What is it that you have, beside introducing online learning, do we have any other permanent plans to improving the capacity of our universities and TVETs in order to address the problem that is faced by South Africans? Because I'm here thinking about those who didn't have space this year will take 30% of what we have already in the spaces that will be declared as available, not even considering the number of those who are still in grade 12, which will always have a backlog of young people not being placed in somewhere missing in the country. What permanent plans do we have for this crisis?
Thank
Quickly.
you, Honourable Member. The plan is to build again, as we've been directed also by the President and supported that we will get finances. We have met with the Mayor, by the way, and I think, 2 weeks ago?
I think Honorable Lonzi needs to hear this. Honorable Lonzi.
Oh, yeah, we've met.
They are
We've met
responding
with the
to
Mayor.
the issue
We've
of
met with the Mayor
University of
and...
the
Sorry.
University of Ekurhuleni.
Yes. Yes, so we've met with the Mayor and we resuscitated the plan. They've identified the sites, various sites for us, and the work is now going in terms of building the new universities. But also there is a plan, as we indicated earlier, that working with the CHE to see what kind of blended, education we could have in the space. And we've looked at, they need to look at, if, for instance, a student is to do online, then that student should be provided with the data, the gadgets, and so on and so on, vis-a-vis, and the support, by the way, because that's the other thing we ask. What support then do you give to those that are studying online? Vis-a-vis if you were to pay for accommodation and everything. So we are looking at the whole package. What can we do within the short space of time? What is the long-term plan in terms of making sure that at least every student is accommodated in terms of teaching and learning?
Thank you. Honorable Nguban.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. I think from my side, Chair, I won't be long. The first question I wanted to ask was on the DHET, the measures. What measures has the department implemented to prevent future ICT failures during registration? Such as people self glitches, especially at the DUT, that they were reported glitches there. What the department has done about that?
Thank you very much. Chair, all the reports that we have received from particularly our external moderation external audit committee of the department point to this area being the biggest challenge in the department. And we have taken responsibility to look into the infrastructure of the department, ICT infrastructure, because you would have noted in the Auditor General's report in the past, this issue has also been cited as an area. We then have decided to phase the implementation. The first initiative was to support the frontline entities that are confronted with biggest problem, like NSFAS. As you know, we have funded, ICT infrastructure for NSFAS. We have commissioned MICT to look into a consolidated infrastructure, a system for the entire post-school education and training system. And they owe us a progress report now that indicates how far we are with that. This approach is in line with our own capacity to actually address the challenges that we are confronted with.
So
Ordinarily,
in short, the DG says they've got plans and is outlining them. I'm worried that it's going to finish your time and we must be out here at 12:30, like I said.
Yeah, if the DG can be short. And West DG, I think that MICT project, we haven't got update on it as well. It's been going on for long. Where is it, the one that the MICT is busy with? If it can be short, as the chair is saying, we don't have time.
we'd like to share the report on that. They owe us, we've actually requested an update, and we would like to share that with you, Honorable Ngubane.
Percentage-wise, DG, where are we? 90% estimate, 60% of completion of that project?
I would say we are right at the beginning, because what is important for us is that CETAs, for example, some of them had done their own individual projects that are not aligned to what the CETA, the MICT's approach is about. And so we then have completed that phase of establishing the state of infrastructure in the system. We have we had commissioned a study in that regard, which has been completed, and recommendations were sent to the department, which led us to then ask the MICT to proceed. You would recognize, Honorable Chair and Honorable Ngubane, that CETA, being the main and the custodian of ICT infrastructure of government, remains a support system for the department whilst all of this is happening. I think it's important that I make that point.
Okay, thanks. CEO of NSFAS, the loans, on the loans, are your loan still managed through spreadsheet as thing like it used to be before? Is there any improvement, or have you introduced any alternative if in terms of managing that? There was a loan management spreadsheet that used to be at NSFAS. How far is that?
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Ngubane. So NSFAS's loan system had been shut down in the period, I think about 2019 to 2023. Under the period of administration, the administrator had started a process of remediating the loan book, that is getting the correct balances for financial statement purposes, which we picked up as well. We then had an option, because the Honorable Ngubane is correct, you cannot manage 845,000 loan records through spreadsheets and also issue new loans on spreadsheets. We explored, because we were still in the process of rebuilding our supply chain capacity, we explored two options. One was participating in another government entity's loan system, which the National Empowerment Fund did give us permission for, but we felt that it was not, it was more tailored towards SMMEs, and therefore we've taken a decision to recommission our previous loan system. We are already in the process of doing that, and we expect to be back online with a fully functional automated loan system by the 1st of April this year. Thanks.
So is that why you only have 1,561 of 25,000 loan application approved? Is it because of that, or what causes that SEO?
I think I wouldn't say that it's a system issue. I think the application system for loans is fine in terms of assessing capabilities around loans there. I'd say that the issue with the low uptake on the loans is mainly a policy-related issue at the moment, and it's a marketing and communications issue from the NSFAS side.
It's process issues that makes you to have low achievement on this loan issuing scheme.
I'd say less process, more policy, and not enough marketing and communications. Yeah.
Then CEO, what are you doing to improve this? Because there are a lot of students who need this loan. With such a low achievement, it means you are missing a lot of students who can benefit from this.
I think our plan is, and we've discussed this with the department, is that we need some strategic rethink on the loan policy here, right? How it's rolled out and who are its targeted beneficiaries per se here. So as I've mentioned before today, there's two issues in particular which stand out for me. One is the 600,000 rand cap on income. I think it should be much higher than that. And I also think the 70%, 30% STEM, so having qualifications aligned to STEM, I think we may need to be more flexible if we want greater uptake on the loans going into the future. So we intend to make some policy amendments for 2027 that of course will also present before the portfolio committee. The other engagement that we've undertaken, it was actually facilitated by the chair of the portfolio committee, is to engage DPSA, because I think a big component of potential beneficiaries are the children of government employees, teachers, nurses, and we've undertaken through DPSA to consult government workers about what are their challenges around uptake of the missing middle loan fund as well. Yeah.
So in the next financial year of student, these numbers will change. Is that a promise, CEO? Because if we can go on the next financial year and have these numbers approved again, it means we are missing a whole lot of other students. So are you hoping that by next, as you said, 2027, hopefully out of 25,000, if the numbers still remain the same, we will have 24,000 of these loans approved?
Yeah, I mean, certainly from our side, we want to see greater uptake on the loans. We want to see more beneficiaries benefiting. And I think the core component for us is that there should be no deserving student in South Africa who does not go to an institution of higher learning because they lack financial means, whether it's a bursary or whether it's a loan here, right? And getting the appropriate mix of funding is correct in our opinion around this year. So certainly from our perspective, we'd like to see increased uptake on the loans, and even within NSFAS, we're building stronger capacity to be able to execute on the loan function, because you also want other elements such as tracking the performance of your loan beneficiaries, tracking their employment status, and making sure those processes are in place.
Okay, the other question, CEO, that SIU money that was returned, I think it was about 1.7 billion rand from collecting on all institutions of higher learning. Did the SIU or yourself checked? Because remember that money was kept by this institution probably for over 7 years. were there investments and interest generated from these institutions of higher learning by keeping that amount of money? Or they returned the exact lump sum that you guys claimed it was the amount that was left? Because obviously, if it was the money kept, they kept it somewhere generating interest. Was there disclosure on what interest they generated and what they returned with an interest, or just they kept the interest? Which is still, even that one, is wrong to keep the interest of the money that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Ngubane. My understanding is they did repay with interest, but just let me allow to confirm, and I'll also confirm the exact amount and the additional interest that was paid by each institution.
Okay, Honorable Lons?
Question, Chair.
No, we don't have, members still need to ask. Honorable Lons?
No, thank you, Chair. I may not use all my time because I don't know if I'm allowed to give Usihlom Dala. Because for the past weeks now, my central focus has been on this thing of space in post-secondary education. So I'm just going to stick to it. And we'll start here, Deputy Minister. In the presentation, I don't see the preliminary enrollments of universities. Is it because we don't have those numbers, or it's something that the department missed? Because I saw you have it for TVETs and you have it for CETs. But for universities, you've only put the projections. But you haven't told us, in the year 2026, as things stand, how many learners who passed matric, particularly with bachelor's passes, have been accepted in the university. So I just want to check that.
Permission from UDM, I'll answer that. So no, we haven't provided, so what we've provided is the enrollment plan targets for 2026 for first-time entering students. And the reason we do that is because the universities are still, have not provided the registration data to us. They do so through HEMIS, and then the data is audited. But what we did is to also provide the 2024 audited figures that give you the overall numbers of the enrollments, the headcount enrollments.
Why have the universities not provided? Because majority of the universities are probably sitting on the 3rd or even 4th week of the academic calendar. So registrations would have started in February. In fact, now they're dealing with very late registrations. In some institutions, I think they've already written test 1. I mean, you see people writing test 1 yesterday. So at least by now, the department ought to have an idea of how many F10s, first-time entering students, have been registered in all 26 universities in South Africa.
Honorable Lonzi, it doesn't vary much from what those projected figures are because of the enrollment plan. If universities under or over-enroll by more than 2% outside of that, we penalize them.
But you see, we don't want your projection. We want the numbers.
Then we will have to get that information from the university.
How long will it take to get those numbers? Because those are the numbers that are going to assist us to find out how many matrics who passed matric have been closed out of the system. As things stands, it means the department does not know of the over 615,000 young people that passed matric in 2025. You don't know for sure how many of them have found space in universities.
Chair, with your permission, I can tell you that many of them haven't, because the spaces that are there are only 235,000. But
When
what I can,
we
but
want the
if I
number.
can finish, Honorable Lonzi, we can get that number, but if I can also say that some of those students will also have registered at TVET colleges.
When are we going to
at
get the number?
CETs.
Because you know why I'm speaking about universities. When I opened, I said, the TVET colleges have told us the preliminary registrations. I'm coming there. And I said, the CET, in the presentation, they've told us the preliminary enrollments. But the university branch is not telling us. It doesn't know. The DDG TVETs can tell us that so far, X number of people, I think they said 135,000 or so. The CET can also tell us, but the universities can't tell us. Why is that?
Because we need to get that information from 26 universities, plus all the private institutions where there's about 350,000
There are 50
students.
TVET colleges in South Africa.
All of which report to the Department of Higher Education
There are
directly.
50 TVET colleges in South Africa.
Yeah,
With more campuses than universities.
yeah.
there are more CET colleges in South Africa, way more campus than universities. But they have been able to tell you, as the department, that so far, this is the number of people who have been registered. There are more TVET colleges in South Africa than universities. There are more CET colleges in South Africa than universities. Why is it taking so long for the department to get the number? How many first-time entering students have been registered in universities? We're on the 4th week now, if not 5th or 3rd week of the academic calendar. The numbers should be there, should be easily accessible, because the university is the one that registers these students.
We'll get the numbers for you.
Probably, Honourable Member, it is true that maybe what the department should have done is to give you the preliminary numbers, because there are preliminary numbers. In all the institutions that we went to, they gave us the preliminary numbers to say, we've registered so many F10s, we still have so much space and all of that. But also remembering that institutions like DUT, they told us they had to extend the registration. Of course, I'm sure now they've closed, because we've asked them whether they do have a catch-up plan for those students that have registered late. But also there were students that were delayed by waiting for the outcomes of their appeals. So there will be those that then were registered later than what the universities would have given us. That is why we are able to have something that says so many even males and females and so many F10s and all of that. But it will be preliminary, which will be available.
Yeah, why, Tandy, what is your understanding of why we convened this meeting? What did we convene this meeting for?
Are you asking me, Chair?
Yes.
Through UDM, the importance of this meeting is to discuss the issues around access and success at universities and what the enrollments and the registration period, and to reflect on the system and the registrations in the process that we've had.
Where do you get those things from?
From the top of my head, Chair.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's why you're answering what he's not asking. Because I wrote to you guys, and I said, a briefing by the Department of Higher Education and Training on registration and enrollment in the PSET system for the 2026 academic year. That's what we asked you to prepare. So that, and he's right, you have not prepared what we've asked for on the universities. So you guys, so why must we invite you with a letter? We're inviting you with a letter to do what? Because you're preparing your own things. Honorable Lonzo.
And you're quite right, Chair. I was going to make that point, so I won't labor it, because the whole point of this meeting is to assess how far are we in as far as the registration is concerned. So for the department to arrive in this meeting and not have the numbers, and even more disheartening, the Deputy Minister says when we visit university, they already have these numbers, which proves my point, my earlier point, that these systems are automated. You can't tell me now that DUT, even if they would have extended registration, they don't know so far. That's why I'm saying preliminary. That's how the TVET branch and the CET branch did it so well. They said, so far we've got X 137,000, but we still have some space because we've not met the projected amounts. So we need those numbers. And the reason why we need those numbers is because we need to get to a situation where the department is able to, on a yearly basis, understand that when basic education gives us X number of learners we have passed, how many of them are we able to absorb in post-secondary education? And what happens to these ones who don't get to be absorbed? And my follow-up question, maybe to you, DM, why does the minister, or maybe not give it to him, let me say the department, why does the department keep insisting on mentioning CET colleges when we ask you the question about matrics that have passed grade 12 and are needing space in post-secondary education? Because the DDG CET told us last time, and if I ask her again, she'll probably tell us again, that at least 78% of the demographic in CET colleges is people who are still wanting to receive matric. They are pursuing their matric. So it's very dishonest when we ask you about space for people who have passed matric for you to mention CET colleges. Whereas you don't even mention the small percentage. You want to say in CET college you have 170,000 space available. When you know that of that 170,000, 78% of those people are people who are still seeking to get a matric certificate. So you can't then say, no, a child has passed matric, they must now go and find space in the CET college. I'll ask DDG now, of the numbers that she has seen, of that 137,000 or 35,000, how many of them are actually learners who have passed matric? And all of us will be very surprised to discover that a very small percentage. What does it mean? When the department says no, only 100,000 people who pass matric won't have space, you'll find that the number is actually 200,000. Because many of those young people are not going to CET colleges. So why does the department, maybe I'm unfair on you because you are not the one who answered the question, it was the minister. But I want to believe that the minister doesn't just give his own opinions. He speaks on behalf of all of you as the department. Before he goes and answers questions, he would have briefed you. But if you say I must wait for him, I'm also happy to wait for him. I must wait for him. All right. Now let me not be unfair on you, DM. DDG CET, of the preliminary registration, because I see here you say about 137,780 people have been enrolled in CET colleges. Of that number, how many of them are learners that passed matric in 2025?
Through you, Chair, thank you very much. My apologies, my computer is just bombed out, so I can't look at those figures now, but they are in the slide. I can't remember now it's slide number what, but it is in the presentation. Let me just indicate, you get 2 NQF level 4 qualifications in community education and training. Therefore, the second chance National Senior Certificate program would be those students who had passed matric and are going to the CET college to either improve on their results, maybe they've passed but they feel that they did not pass well enough, or they have failed completely and they need to restudy matric and then they will pass. Now, I'm going to combine my answer. I'm not going to be long and take your time. So, in the context of your previous question, we have the class of 2025 from DBE that would then come and register in a community college for the National Senior Certificate. We call it the Second Chance Matric Program, but it's the same National Senior Certificate. And then you would have the class of 2024 and going backwards, because others would have taken a break, others come back immediately. Therefore, it becomes important for us to indicate that in this 2026 academic year, you are going to have the class of 2025 that will be coming into the sector. The difficulty, though, is that we do have the total number of those that are doing the National Senior Certificate. The difficulty is segregating whether they were from 2025 or from the previous years. I'm not sure if what I'm saying makes sense. So you have some of these students.
Oh, sorry, maybe let me do it like this, DG. Remember, you and I will still have our own discussion about CETs. Of the 137,000, how many of them are still pursuing a matric certificate?
It would be approximately 50% of them.
50% of them. Yeah, so it goes to the point that we're trying to make with the minister, that you cannot count CET colleges, or if you do count, don't mislead South Africans and say 170,000 spaces. I'm even shocked when you projected 140-something thousand, because early in the year we're told there are 170,000 spaces. Yeah. At least give half of that number and say less than 170,000. so that we can get to the bottom of how many of these people. My last point to NSFAS, Chair.
No, you'll come.
I'll come after.
Yeah, let me
All
allow
right.
members to speak. Honorable Souls.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to the DM and DG and DDGs and all the staff. I think maybe I should begin by commending the acting CEO of NSFAS, based on our consistent experience. I think what has changed, and I think it's important to note it for the record, that whenever we reach out to you when there is issues and problems, you respond, and not only respond, delegate staff that then assists students. And for that, I want to publicly commend you and your team. Then I want to ask you, or make a request. There is an allegation of, at Moteo Tibet College, that there is on the NADA campus, since 2023, there's been ghost students used for claims to NSFAS. That there is a student accommodation facility, but there's no students in there. But claims has been made from NSFAS since 2023, 5,000 rand per student. Just investigate that for us, please, and give us a clear response on that. Then, through you, DM, the CET centers, are students supposed to pay a registration fee?
DM or TDG, are students supposed to pay to register at CET?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, the community education and training colleges, they're not supposed to pay registration or tuition fees. However, we do have, like Gauteng City College, I know that they do charge them an administration fee when they come to register, about 100 Rand or 200 for the matric program, when they are repeating or improving on those matric results. Gauteng does that. I can't remember now at the top of my head which other one, but generally they do not pay. Thank you.
Are they supposed to do that?
Through council, that can be a council regulation. So the council of the college can make a decision of a nominal fee to be paid. So other colleges, the council would make a decision to say that there would be no payment. Where there would be absolutely no payment would be a program, like a skills program, for an example, that is already funded through NSF or through other SITAs, then definitely those ones, there would not be a payment.
DDG, if the standard is that students should not pay at community education centers, my understanding is that all provinces needs to implement that, because this is what happens, and you're correct, it happens in Gauteng, and they charge 150 Rand registration fee, and they charge 100 Rand per subject. Now, that can't be correct, because the entire concept of that program is to assist. So you have the poorest of the poor still being isolated, and the response of the department is, well, it's not supposed to happen, but that depends on what council decides. It's a problem.
Through you, Chair, I acknowledge that, and I'm aware we've had previously this question coming up, and hence I know at the top of my head, particularly with Gauteng, that is an issue. Honorable South, I can relook that, but at the time when we're looking at this, we didn't find anything to hold the college against in terms of that decision to charge those fees?
Then it defeats the purpose. DDG, am I understanding you correctly? Are you defending the process?
Entirely not. Ideally, with a community college, they should not be charging at all.
Yes, so we should stick on that to say that's our position. And then we deal with why are they doing it, and then there's a clear, decisive decision made to say it shouldn't happen because it is affecting the poorest of the poor. That's the point. We agree? Thank you, DDG. DG, there are 45 students that has received a scholarship to go study in China. We are very happy about that. How many out of that 45 are black Africans, colored Africans, Indian Africans, and white Africans?
For the question, I do not know from the top of my head how many, but I have noted the emphasis you are making that notwithstanding the support you are giving for the scholarship program, but the department must also ensure that the representation of those who benefit from the program is aligned to our constitution and our ambition as a country. And I can assure you and commit that we'll continue to look carefully at that.
But my concern is, have you looked carefully at that in this instance?
Maybe Honourable Souls can help us to, because there are different groups that are there. So I wouldn't know, is it the recent group, the one that has just departed now, or the group that, which group?
Well, I know about the recent one I've seen.
The recent one.
But if there's more groups, it will be even more interesting for me to know combined. The breakdown of the combined groups.
Okay, no, they in the recent group, I'm sure maybe there will be 1%, but I never, there will be what, 99% or 90%, but we can give those numbers. But most, maybe 90% will be coming from because that group was the NEET group. In fact, 100%, I never saw, because there was, I think, one from Northern Cape and
maybe we should
yeah, but the NEET one, because that one was the NEET, was the youth, not in employment youth that are not in school, the one that have just left now.
Maybe to make it easier, you will give me the exact numbers, and maybe not for 45 students. Maybe don't use percentages. Say out of 45.
Okay, maybe one. Yeah.
One.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Two. You know. I'm a bit slow, so the 90%.
At least I saw them. I saw them before they left, so that's why I would have seen them. So I saw what I saw. So it will be easy to tell you.
Okay.
But most of them, will be coming from the
numbers.
disadvantaged.
Yeah, I'll wait for those numbers. DM, in the last meeting I think we had that I was in, there was on social media a list of academic heads who are foreign nationals at the Free State University. And the minister said we should ignore such lists that are on social media because it's not accurate. But I was interested, so I went to look at that list, and then we took the top 5 on that list, and 5 out of 5 on that list are foreign national, and they are employed as academic heads at the Free State University. Has the department done anything since our last discussions and engagements last year in ensuring that South Africans are prioritized in positions that they qualify in?
Chair, with support from the DG, I'm not sure, since I started on the 1st of February, we have about anything that has been done before the 1st of Feb.
Nothing. Chair, am I allowed to?
That's not my response, Chair, but maybe DG can assist if he's aware of any other issues.
You're saying you're not aware of what has been done with regard to that since you've joined?
Yes.
In other words, that's nothing.
Since
don't know-
February, yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Chair,
Well, let's give others. We'll come back
All right,
for
Chair,
follow-ups. I'm worried that at the beginning I did say there's a meeting that's sitting here. So
problem,
I don't want other members not to ask questions. Honorable Low.
No, thank you very much. Let me greet the Deputy Minister, the DG. Chair, time and again when we engage on Wednesday, we will receive WhatsApps from our people of South Africa. And I'm specifically saying this because there have been a number of concerns with regard to payments in Northern Cape. And there's a lady I want to specify, she's been trying to to indicate that she has issues of payments because of she's losing her house. And those are the issues that need to be dealt with. And I think I want to put it to the CEO to say, can you please look onto the matter so that we can close the report of the Northern Cape with regard to the outstanding payments of all service providers who could have rendered services in accommodating our students and making sure that they give them adequate, safe environment for them to be able to be sheltered in around those particular student residents. And I'm saying this because she has sent me documentations where she's losing her staff, she's losing her house, she's losing her cars. It's a bit sad for the family because the expectation was to say the government of the people will be responsive and be able to give them access to business opportunities and to grow and be able to prepare the future and assist the department with regard to how they deal with such issues. So I'm raising this as a matter of concern, and I hope it's not only her. There are many of those who are still saying that DM, they are not yet paid. They are running away from providers. They are not getting any other response. But albeit that the CEO has highlighted the matter to the provincial people who are dealing with NSFAS, but yet there is no adequate response from the NSFAS people that seeks to say that these people are going to be safeguarded with regard to their frustrations. If it be that they were not registered, let it be that they are told and the matter gets closed so that we are able to know how far we are able to progress and deal with critical issues. So I'm raising this because every day, every second the CEO knows I always forward issues of messages that I receive from the lady and other providers because I can only be able to send, but those with authority, can they be in position to deal with such? And also at Soplike University, the students are a bit concerned that they might be evicted due to unpaid accommodation. There is a similar issue that members have been referring to say that the universities have been given money, but they are not doing as expected in making sure that they release the particular money. The students, the academic progress is affected due to unpaid tuition fees. The students are struggling to survive without meal allowances in Soplike University. And they don't even know when they're going to be paid. They are quite concerned, and they've said that they've raised this issues with me, CEO. They've also raised an important issue with me with regard to the caps to say in Soplike University, they are the campus residents' monthly fees versus the NSFAS accommodation cap. It's a challenge because NSFAS cap is 52,000 rent, while the normal leave students in debt, it leaves the students in debt. And what is normally being charged by Supply University is 55,000 rent. Now it creates a problem for the students. So how do we deal with such? I raised it last week, and it's quite a concern. This accommodation cap, it is not inconsistent or in line with what we would want to attain. It creates a problem systematically, and it means we will be able to, are going to be confronted with systematic disparities, and we're dealing, I'm repeating, we're dealing with those who are receiving social grants, which means they are dependent to ourselves. So it is quite important and enormous that we must agree to scrap that student accommodation cap. I don't see a reason for it, because it is putting those who are at the back foot again to be much more behind, because our kids, our students can't depend on us, and yet again there's a student cap that affects them and put them in debt. Can that matter be dealt with, and can we receive a fully fledged report on the student cap, Chairperson? Because we've been raising accommodation student cap, and if you look on to what we have raised earlier with regard to the providers, external and internal, it is mainly confronting the systematic challenges and continuing to make our issues to be very much difficult. So I thought I must address that, and I thought that we would be able to receive a report as to how far we would, what we've presented into the committee. So I'm not going to be long, because it's quite enormous that as we're working together as colleagues, we are able to share time and again issues. I'm going to pose two issues. I'll send my questions. I would want to know, because I've seen this progress with regard to the minister's statement on the state of readiness, where the high demand of STEM programs were about to be dealt with. Given the National Skill Fund is investing over 350 million in the Umsinga TVET Smart Campus pilot, what completion expected by 2027? What plans are in place to replicate or scale similar digital-enabled future-ready institutions across other TVET colleges to strengthen the national skills development? Thanks. NSFAS?
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. I'll respond to the student accommodation one first. We did send a team out to the Northern Cape about a week or so ago to meet with all of the affected landlords and reconcile their accounts. We should have a report by the end of this week, which I'll share with the committee on the Northern Cape matter, as well as a plan. We need to identify a special payment date to settle those ones, but the matter is receiving attention, and we'll make sure that whoever rendered services should be compensated. Equally, we have said that no student can be evicted on the basis of the lease agreement that accommodation providers have signed with us here. If an accommodation provider has a problem, whether with NSFAS or their payments or anything like that, they are duty bound to consult. You don't just get to throw somebody out on the street and, think that's okay. There are laws and regulations in the country, and they are bound by contractual obligations. So we want to give reassurance to the committee that we'll not allow such tendencies to persist, and no student who qualifies for accommodation will be left without. On the issue of the cap, it's a complex matter in that the cap was introduced to manage the budget associated with how NSFAS spends funds on accommodation. Unfortunately, it has had many unintended consequences. I think where we can agree is that you cannot have students who are on a bursary who are graduating with debt. It really does not make any sense here. It's a problem, because if you are on an NSFAS bursary, you met the terms and conditions of your bursary, which is fulfilling your academic progression. We really can't be allowing these students to graduate with debt. On the other hand, simply lifting the cap, I don't think is an option at this point in time, simply because we don't have the budget to deal with what may come after that there. What we have committed to, once we are through the registration period now, and that ends on the 31st of March in terms of the final data that comes through, myself and the DDG for universities and TVETs have agreed on a strategic session to deal with accommodation issues in their entirety, because it is an issue, including issues associated with the cap, And I think we can make a firm commitment to come back to this committee with key recommendations about accommodation reforms to stabilize the sector. I think on the issue, Chair, of the NSF, the smart campus, I'm not the appropriate person to respond.
No, thanks, Chair. For the sake of time, I will therefore submit my questions in writing. Thanks.
Honorable Khakao, 3 minutes. Yes. No,
Chair-
no, there's a meeting, I did indicate
Chair-
we're supposed to finish at 1:30.
I hear you,
There's a
Chair.
meeting that is starting now here at 1.
I hear you, Chair.
Yes.
I must just indicate, Chair, just because I arrived late, because I had to announce to South Africa that we want to cut levies of fuel by 50%, it doesn't mean I didn't receive the presentations that I engaged here today.
Yeah.
But because of time,
No,
I'll take
hold
3
on.
minutes.
No, let me respond to you. I allocated time based on the people who are here, and we are not here. And we allocated time because there's a meeting we did indicate.
It's
So
fine,
if you
Chair.
had indicated that you'll arrive late,
I didn't say I
we
wasn't
could have
coming.
allocated you time there, or taken time from this member.
It's fine, Chair.
So
I
there's a
didn't
meeting
say I
that must
wasn't
sit.
coming, but it's fine.
3
So
minutes,
first
that's
of all, I never thought I would sit to live the day where I'm sitting in a committee of higher education and hear an ANC member say that the accommodation cap of NSFAS is a problem, which is something the Democratic Alliance has said for time, to say you can't have a cap that is universal across institutions when the cost of accommodation across institutions does not follow the same market trends. And so I'm very pleased to hear this sobriety. But Chair, I want to say quickly, Flavius Mareka, CEO Karim, Flavius Mareka in the Free State, we had a situation last week where students were thrown out of their student accommodation beds and houses because you owe their landlords money. You keep reiterating that people can't be thrown out. But the bottom line is, even the kindest of souls, DM, get tired of rendering a service mahala. Because NSFAS promises landlords that they're going to pay them. The reason why they're housing students is because you said you were going to pay them. And then you fail to pay them. And not only are they in trouble with their bond repayments, they're in trouble with municipalities for their rates and taxes, they're in trouble with their body corporates for levies that they must pay. A debt that cannot come out of their pockets because their pockets are empty, because you are not paying what you are supposed to pay for these students. So for me, in the next meeting, because I have 3 minutes and there's no time for you to respond on anything I'm going to say, for you in the next meeting, I would love to have a comprehensive plan on how much do you really owe across the country? How much have you paid so far, which you have given us? But what is your plan to make sure that you at least alleviate the pressure of debt that you have with landlords currently that are not receiving money from NSFAS, who are anxious about what the rest of this academic year is going to look like for them and their income and their business cost altogether, but also for students who are anxious already to say, I was thrown out last week because NSFAS owes me and I have nowhere else to go and sleep. Will I be thrown out again, or am I safe? Will I be able to continue with my studies? And next year, will I also still find myself in the same problem where I don't have a house? It's not nice, Deputy Minister Dube. These students, and Flavius Mareka is not the only institution that exists. There are quite a number of them. Waking up and having to go to school, write tests and submit assessments, and in the middle of that, being thrown out, literally left stranded and homeless. It's not a nice experience. And so it shouldn't happen. Thank you.
No, they will respond. Want to thank you, but before I must also indicate that I never thought I'll be in a meeting, sitting in the meeting where a DA member doesn't understand what is universal cap. But we live, to see another day. There's no universal cap at NSFAS. I mean, people know that those who are in what do you call this thing? Metro, there's a metro rate, there's a non-metro rate, but what can we say? I want to thank you, colleagues. I had too many questions myself. I won't ask them because there's a meeting that's starting now in this venue. I see the chairpersons are already here. We'll write to you members' questions. I know Honorable Souza had a follow-up, and I know what kind of a follow-up was coming because we have a tendency of not responding to members asking questions. And when a member asks you, what is the number? It does not need to be qualified. You must say the number is 10 or the number is 15, or I don't have the number, can I provide it in writing? So that we save the members' times. Tomorrow they are going to be accused of being too aggressive because they will stop you when you are responding. And that's not what we want. And then tomorrow, you colleagues will say that these members are too aggressive and I'm allowing them to be. But you're not, every time we make a point that let's do this and that. I want to indicate that so we will ask department, I'll write to you, ask you to commission a forensic at NSFAS for two things. One, you must get as the forensic on how much money was almost literally stolen from SARS by paying directly to these people, to the providers' bank accounts, personal bank accounts instead of business accounts. That is the 60% or so. NSFAS, from 45 billion, you should have received, from 4.5 billion, you should have received 45 million from these providers. I'll write to you so that you inform us. I know how much each owe, then you must give them to us. So having said that, colleagues, I think let's close our meeting. I think we've run outside of time, but I think this is not the last. We might need to have a special meeting or a day to finish this meeting of ours. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much, members. We'll close that way. No.